panic, you know, circling the NBA about the ratings being down from, last year and a few years ago. Well, I'm going to give my take on why it could be a number of reasons why the NBA ratings are down. It could just be a lot of things. I think it's just more than one problem that could be fixed. But I'm going to tell you some of them. You know, um, I was watching the NFL. I was watching the NFL broadcast of the Chiefs versus the Steelers and the Ravens. You know, of course, the Ravens versus the Houston Texans. And then when they went back to the studio, I'm seeing a panel. I'm seeing two women and three men. I mean, excuse me, two women and two men. You know, basically in the studio, and I think that's the problem. Hopefully, within the next 5 years, it don't get to the point to where you have more women covering and talking about football than men who are actually participating in the sport or who have a long history of having ties to the sport. And that's what I think is one of the problems. I think you're starting to see that in the NBA too much. And I think Malika Andrews, due to the fact that nobody likes her, a lot of people are starting to tell the truth and just say, hey, she shouldn't be there. She isn't qualified to be there. She doesn't have enough experiences. She didn't put in the work. Because I think a lot of times people are getting tired of political correctness, the politics that go along in sports with basically trying to, insert women in and basically overwhelm people with women. Do I think they should be there? Of course. But when you trying to overwhelm them and then when you are in the process of secretly trying to make them the majority because you feel like, oh, I'll get a good looking Asian woman or a good looking black woman or a good looking white woman, and that's going to lead to ratings. That's not always the case. I think when it pertains to certain subject matter, you know, you can have women where they are the majority instead of the minority. And that is a problem that I think people are growing tired with. And then I think over the past 4 years, Adam Silver has made the NBA too gimmicky with the play-in tournament, and then the end season now going into the second season of the end season tournament, which I think is just absolutely stupid. Doesn't make any kind of sense. He just made it too gimmicky, you know, and you just get to the point to where it's just like, man, can you just go back to tradition? You see, they started to do that with the All-Star game, trying to have all these gimmicks with the All-Star game. And I think it was turning a lot of people off. Then people have an issue with too much three-point shooting. Do I love to see people making three-pointers? But I do think that they can minimize that, and I do think they could modify that. If I was the commissioner, I would say, okay, because some people are basketball traditionalists. My thing would be maybe you only could take a certain amount of three pointers per quarter, or maybe three pointers don't count until after the halfway mark. You're playing 12-minute quarters. Why not when it hit the 6 minute mark, then of each quarter, then you shoot from long distance. That's considered a three pointer. But it's just so many flaws that's just going on in the NBA. It's no surprise that the ratings are down. And then also, I think the main reason is I think people are tired of LeBron. A lot of people just want LeBron James to just go away. I think people are tired of the league focusing too hard on LeBron. I think like LeBron is going into his 22nd season, 21st, 22nd season. LeBron James has been playing for a very long time. There's nothing out there for LeBron to prove. I mean, he has the rings, he has the MVPs, he has the finals MVPs. I mean, he has everything. And I think for him to just stick around because, he wanted to play alongside his son, at the end of the day, the Lakers have been a little bit better than average. And that's about it. Do you think this Lakers team is going to be holding up the Larry O'Brien trophy in June? I don't think so, unless something dramatic happens. And you just seeing a lot of problems, and they're fixable problems. And another thing that I think people don't like is the character. They don't like the NBA trying to emasculate the so-called superstars, where you got these dudes walking around wearing nail polish. They're walking into the locker room with very questionable outfits on. I just think that the NBA is going the wrong direction. When you think of professional sports, you think of masculinity, machismo. Now it's beginning to look sissified, and I think that's the biggest problem. But nobody wants to hear the truth. You know, you're not allowed to tell the truth or basically voice your opinion. It's a lot of things. I think it's the characteristics of the current NBA players that I just think, um the product. I think it's became too gimmicky. So that's my personal opinion. These are easy fixes too. But when you try to talk to Adam Silver, you live in this in a world now where everything is supposed to be accepted. You're not supposed to have a complaint in the world. And I just think that's just not gonna fly. That's just not the direction that you want to go. That's the problem. You can't tell the truth. And then a lot of times you have, a lot of times you look at what color the athletes are. This isn't Major League Baseball. This isn't hockey, where, at some point you look at the athletes, they seem to have more control, where the other guys, they always worried about endorsements and everything else, and not being able to say the truth, except when it pertains to offended black people. And the funny thing is, they go out of their way to basically cater to a certain group of people, but then that group of people don't even support the NBA like that. But there you have it. We'll continue this talk later on. This your boy Town. I'm out.